whatever it is you feel you need to say. We're gonna go hot on the audio in three, two. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have brother Tommy Tipton in the house.
Alive.
Finally. Man, I appreciate you listening for one, and
Yeah, man.
two for getting up with me because I'm so horrible about like setting these things up, kind of. But I'm glad you text me, man. That was cool.
I thought, I'm playing the dead dog. And I knew
Yeah.
I was just going to be right here in the neighborhood, man. I was like, I want to go see what that's all about. Your little rant and raving with Kelsey.
Indeed, man. There's a little ranting and raving going on all over the world. So, what's your view on that? All the ranting and raving in the world.
uh, Test one, two. Is this thing hot?
Yeah, is this thing on? Of course it is. Yeah. What's my major qualm? Our people are not being real with themselves or the people that are closest to them, and that is causing a huge disturbance in the chi, for lack of a better word, of the world. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about people in their actions?
I could not agree more. I said something the other day. I mean, people are just hotter. Little, the tempers are flaring. I mean, had my mind blown, and any age group. I
Yeah.
mean, not just 20-something-year-old Broadway the beach. I mean, your grandpas,
Oh yeah.
just getting pissed at people, and it's like,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of tension in the world for sure,
A lot of tension.
either side. I'm not even going to do all that, but but it's people are. And you wonder if social media has been a part of that, that people got the nerve to go more outspoken. I mean, you might type something a couple of times, and then all of a sudden it gives you the nerve to say it. Now,
Yeah.
well, I've been, when you're in line at
Yep.
Costco, and
Exactly. Well, and another thing is just like we were saying before for the audio people who are not checking out the YouTube feed, and if you are not checking out the YouTube feed, you're missing out on content because there are things there that you're not getting from audio. So, but yeah, right. But yeah, so like we were talking about the whole world, and listeners have heard me say this before that MySpace, the MySpace generation totally is running the game right now because we were trained. We took Facebook 101.
That's
And
right.
we weren't just that's what MySpace was Facebook 101.
I agree. I miss MySpace. Miss it.
You could
Let's take a moment for MySpace. Okay, but
that was enough.
it was music and artist geared. It was so easy to do a website. I mean, I got gigs through MySpace.
You had 5 songs you could upload to your page. Like somebody goes to your page and there's and a lot of people are. I saw this thing going through Twitter was like, I wish somebody could just come to my Twitter page and it would play a song that I like. And somebody commented like, we finally reached a generation that doesn't remember what MySpace was.
Exactly.
You could click on MySpace and you had songs there, and you could choose your own. But if you were a musician, you could post your own music to your page, and that was a platform for you.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it was your it was your EPK.
Yeah,
was your
exactly.
MySpace.
Your press
profile,
kit. Yeah, exactly. Those were the days. Yes. John, this is going to be a great episode.
Oh my goodness.
So speaking of which, you're me and Tommy, to catch you guys up on this. We played together, I think, only once at the
40, 50 years ago.
yeah, at
something
least
like that.
at least. It was way before Frodo got the
MySpace.
ring. you know, but way before MySpace. But we played at the Crooked Floor, and that was we didn't practice, I don't think, and I love that.
Who needs practice? Just
Yeah, well,
overrated.
exactly. Practice is overrated because you know what? You're gonna screw up anyway.
Yep, exactly. What the saying Mark Chesno used to say was like practice makes permanent. Practice does not make perfection, but it's like you practice it over and over, and then it's permanent. And then when you have to change something at the last minute, go outside of the box and jam. You're so programmed to those. It's got to change on the floor.
Exactly. And I mean, I have so much respect for the orchestral side of music, but for for them to play something the same exact way every single time would drive me up a wall.
It's hard.
I just could not do the same thing every single time, like the same exact way. That would just drive me nuts. And I say this in Cornbread all the time. We got in an argument on Cornbread podcast. Cornbread has a podcast too, by the way. I didn't say it. But we got in an argument on that about, like, Smitty was saying, he wanted to, we practiced. We got a set list together for the Grateful Dog or whatever, the Grateful Dead thing that we did in Florence.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, that only works for certain gigs when you know what your audience is going to be. And I'm totally what do you call it? I'm so for not planning at all and just winging it, because I think that's the human element in music that makes it so great. And I don't know. It would drive me crazy if I had to do the same exact thing every time.
Yeah, it's good. I like to throw myself into the fire sometimes, sink or swim, and go outside of your comfort zone and then kind of conquer it. And then I can remember having phobias about acts that would be coming up at Legends when I was there. When you'd be biting your nails 2 months because this crazy music orchestra, the Liberace, Bobby Darin stuff is coming. And you're like, but then you learn it, you get it down, they're happy, and you're hitting all those really intricate parts that used to freak you out when you got the first listen to it. Like, oh shit, this is gonna be hard.
And 9 times out of 10, things sound a lot harder than they actually are.
Always, and it's sometimes very simple to get a very intricate sounding thing. And
Absolutely.
Like, well, there's nothing to that. And it sounds put in the right context and arranged.
Exactly.
And that stuff needed to be played the same every night. Those kind of people wait on that one hit so they can spin and do a hip thing with it,
and I totally understand that, and I have nothing but respect for that, because
But it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, 100%.
Night after night, you're like, looking for anything for inspiration. You pick one person out of the theater every night. You're like, okay, I have the attention of one, but I can play to them all night, and you need that. You need that feedback to perform.
And for those who are not musicians, we 100% do that. We will pick one person who's really digging what we've got going on, and even if it's the sound guy, it has to be one person.
A lot of times it is.
Yeah, exactly.
The one and only.
I heard a story about. I was listening to some podcast. Can't remember who it was, but was talking about this one guy who was playing to an empty room. He fired one of his horn players in the middle of a gig and made him sit in the crowd so he'd have somebody to play to. Oh, man. Imagine how awkward that is.
Was Buddy Rich the drummer on that by any chance? Or no?
It was about 50 years ago.
Yeah, it sounds kind of Buddy Rich-ish a little bit. You ever listen to that stuff, man? Him on the bus, those audio tapes?
Nah.
Oh, man. He was...
You know what? It might have been Buddy Rich.
That sounds like something he would. If you heard these tapes and the folklore that exists, all the urban legend,
he was into himself.
He would ream out.
Rightfully so, though. I mean,
Very fast left hand, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that does sound very much like him. But so back to the Myrtle Beach folklore. So I have said in many podcasts lately that actually in one recent one for sure, that I did a gig in which I got to do everything that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Like the crowd requested everything that I wanted to play.
Right.
And in the Myrtle Beach area, there's not a whole lot of room to do what you want to do. Mostly due to the clientele, and you have the folks who come down here to vacation and they want to hear their Jimmy Buffett because they're at the beach. And Jimmy Buffet, yeah, exactly. Captain Benjamin's Buffett. And I want to give them that because one, I sort of lean on the tip jar filling up, and two, I want to get called back, and that's just a weird, and I know that that's not like a healthy thing for a musician,
but it's the music business.
But it's the business, and that's what not a lot of people get. Like you have done really, really well at sticking to your own. And
Really? Does it
I
appear that way on the outside?
I don't
Sometimes I'm
know.
like, what am I doing wrong? Oh my God.
No, well, I mean, and what I say is that there's a few people who I know, me and Chip Harrelson, who
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
told
man.
Chip I'm going to come down there a little later too to see you guys for a bit. But by the way, we're live right now on YouTube. Dead Dog tonight at 7:00. Winchester's, Tommy, Chip, Gentry, Cam, George Davis.
This is going to be some kind of fun.
A monstrous gig is going down tonight.
I've missed the train beats too, man, playing the 80s new wave. Not a lot of train beats in 80s synth pop. I don't know if you've noticed.
You know what's funny is we listened to a lot of synth pop on the way, like Thompson Twins on the way home last night, and some big country.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I love it, man. I even shared it on Facebook today. Talking Heads, This Must Be the Place. The synth king. But anyway, beside the point, I was talking to Pork Chop last night on the way to. He played with us in Montreux in Somerville.
I love that place.
Yeah, it's a great
That's
gig.
a good one.
And it was Saturday night. We got to play outside. Usually they put you inside and everybody's outside.
Right.
Well, they put us outside last night, and that was really
corner
cool.
back in there.
Yep.
I love that, man.
It's awesome. But I told him that there are a few. I told him you were coming, and I was comparing you to Brian Jordan, who you guys have like literally gotten it to where you do what you. I feel maybe from the outside, this is what I see. Like you do what you want to do, and it's like you've created that. You've created that within your art to where you can do what you want to do, and it's like, for instance. I don't see, if you were a guitar player, I would see you saying absolutely not to Tennessee Whiskey.
Now, I love country guitar playing like crazy. Though,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there's more I'm into than people think, really. You know, I mean, I went through a whole country phase. I went through a whole, you know.
And I'm not speaking on the country aspect.
No,
of all
no,
of it,
yeah, right. What was your question again?
Oh no! I was just like, it seems like you've put yourself in a position to where you control your own destiny, basically.
I try to, man. You know, picky. You know,
yeah.
I made some rules to myself a long time ago, and I just am not going to do that anymore. I can't. I felt.
What was the breaking point for that?
A lot changed inside, and I don't mean this. I mean, I love those people, some of the best musicians I've ever played with. But that Legends gig was hard. It was it changed my whole insides wiring there for music for a long time. I actually kind of had to break free of some of the stuff that I had developed there, you know, almost institutionalized to play in that kind of setting.
Yeah,
mechanical, same every night. You're behind plexiglass. It's like, don't draw too much attention.
Yeah.
And that was one thing, you know, like one of the actors was like, well, the people are talking. I was being back there too animated, you know, went into it at first, kind of this Keith Moon, you know, like, you know, being the show, you know, and it was like, oh, you kind of need to lay back a little bit, play a little softer, you know. So I started really just like, and they're like, yeah, that's what we want, you know. And it's
there's no fun in that.
Just, you know, and I mean, but that's what it is. That's what that gig is. And if you're gonna get the salary gig, you know, and do the 6 night a week, 9 show a week grind and get the paycheck every week, you know, with the And I did for years, 4 years almost, you know, three years and change, and
that's wild.
But it was killing my love for music. You know, I was like coming home at night almost kind of depressed about things because I could just, it was probably that I wasn't branching out and I felt like I was just kind of stifled a little bit. You know?
Yeah. That's the thing that I've been struggling with lately too, man, is like, I get so bored because even though like we never in Cornbread, we never do the same song or a song the same way twice.
Right,
ever.
Right. Yeah.
And, It's just, even though the set list really, that's not entirely true. There's still like, I would say 40% of the songs that we do set list to set list maybe that'll stay on for about 5 or 6 shows at a time. But then I'll just be like, I'll veto it if it comes up. And I'm like, let's not do that. We need to keep it fresh. But I'll do the same thing, man. I'll come home and I'm just like, man, was that fun or did we just get through it?
Right. Yeah.
Like, was that fun, or was I just on autopilot and now I'm back here? Like, what I love to do is become something that is making me feel this way, and I'm not sure if that's not why I got into this thing. You know, I wanted to do something that I love to do, and if anything ever robs you of that, you know, it's probably best to get away from that. And I applaud you for that. Like, that's a really good thing to do.
I mean, that's what sent me right into hair school. You know, I mean, I came out of that and I said, I now have played drums 6 nights a week and missed birthday parties, and turned around and my daughter was 3 years older. I was like, I started that gig and then all of a sudden I went, woof, and she was 3 years older, you know, that fast, you know. And I was like, where did everything go, you know? And that pushed me, I mean, I went right back to school. And then formed a Velvet Underground tribute band that was really awesome. That broke me out of...
God bless Lou Reed.
God, man. Let's have a moment for Lou Reed and Velvet Underground and Andy Warhol, too.
I'm telling you, man. God bless Lou Reed. So you did the hair thing, and that's your... would you call that your number one?
It's 50-50. I mean, you know what's really funny about this is hair will take an inhale and you'll like this. Hair will take an inhale and music will take an exhale, and then it sort of ebbs and flows.
That's a really good description. That's a good analogy. How do you, now you were saying earlier before we started recording of the similarities between the two.
Oh my God. Okay.
Gonna go down that road for a bit.
You know, they're both self-employed, really, and just running a business and building a business and building that business off of following and a return business and keeping people happy and staying up on trends. I could be talking about the music business or the hair business right now, you know, and it's keeping people interested and coming back when they have so many options now too. I mean, I used to say, man, there's a hair salon on every corner. Now it's more like there's 3 hair salons on every corner.
Yeah.
Between a barbershop, a hair salon, and a Great Clips, you know, and so it's people get pissed at this. I had one hair out of place. That's it. I'm going somewhere else, you know. You know, I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Kind of. I'm exaggerating, but only a little bit because I have seen people kind of lose it over like. Because there's so many options. Well, my girlfriend does hair. So-and-so's friend. Everybody does hair. You know, I mean, for every real estate agent I meet, there's a lot of real estate agents.
Dude,
everybody does real estate.
A dozen per like. I have. And not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but on my Facebook feed, it's like every single week, I'm like, dude, this is 12 more people than last week that just got
looking
the real
to buy
estate.
A house.
And granted, I love all these people, but I'm like, shit, man, like I've been in this apartment for a while. I'm gonna be on, you know, buying a house soon. Who do I go to? I got a Facebook list full of people, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
The same thing, though. I mean.
Now,
you know, you get ready to buy a house. Who are you going to go to and not piss off everybody else?
Yeah.
And same with hair. I mean, I've got great friends that are fantastic hair stylists, you know, and we're all got similar friends. You know, the same friends. I'm like, who are you going to go to? You know, and we're like, so it's just really funny. That's real similar too. You know, I mean, you're fighting for Friday night gig, you know, but you're just fighting for to keep something special to keep people coming to you.
Exactly. Now, in music, you see a lot of the older generation of music coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen in hair? Do you see any hair trends from old come back at all?
Oh, yeah, man. Right?
Really?
Yes. I mean, it is funny. There are hairstyles that never went out of style. You know, the bobs on girls and that kind of stuff. But they change a little bit and get a little more dramatic or a little more of this texture or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but they stay the basic cuts. You know, all roads lead to Vidal.
And I know nothing about this world. Obviously, I'm not a hair.
You asked for the similarities, though, and I mean, I can talk about it almost like it's interchanging with music. You know, I mean.
Well, that's interesting to me because I do understand that, and I mean, I am interested in this.
But you groom. I mean, you wear a big beard. You don't just if you let it go and didn't trim around there. I mean, so
I mean, every now and again, I'll like group it up and just cut the bottom off. You know, just for safety's sake. There's certain things that are not fun to eat. You know, like wings or spaghetti. It's not, you know, when you're slurping up spaghetti, it's like you kind of have to do this, and you get this on the back of your hand. But that's another podcast. But yeah, so like
I know some good products for that, man. Actually, if, you know, we could talk after the.
Okay. I mean, I'm down with that. Well, for a second before we move further on, now that this door's opened, I have this like cinnamon oil that we got from some like handmade market in Boone or Adams. Ashley, you know Ashley.
Yeah.
Ashley got me or got me some sort of like beard oil thing that you like put on your skin and then comb through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that works pretty well. I haven't done it yet today, so don't judge me. but no, that thing works. Those things work pretty good. And I didn't realize that. You know, when I see everybody with beards, and for the longest time, you know, once you realize, oh shit, well, I'm growing my hair out, I guess I better use conditioner.
Yeah.
Like you have to do the same thing for your beard, and I do a beard wash, argan oil, and
okay, so yeah, man.
washing conditioner. And so yeah, I mean, I've gotten.
See, you're doing cosmetology right there. You didn't even realize it, man. Look at,
Am I
halfway
really?
there. You could almost work at a Supercuts or something, I imagine.
I mean, listen. Now, okay, you saying Supercuts?
I'm sorry. I'm
No.
joking.
No, you were saying Supercuts a while ago, and I had this thought: are Supercuts and great clips and sports clips? What are your? And I have friends who also work there as well.
I came out of school and went right to those places and interviewed to find out what they're all about. I didn't know, but I mean, but probably the easiest way to put it is they're your chains, so they're sort of the Walmarts and the Dollar Generals and that, because you can go in there, and I only say that because of the cost. I mean, you can hop in Great Clips and get a $8 haircut, you know, and the salon I work at, they're $50, $60.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's just the difference. Quantity, quality, you know, those places churn and burn. I mean, you get paid depending on how many haircuts you do an hour.
Yeah.
So you're just like, you know, and I think a good haircut takes an hour, you know, by the time you shampoo, style, give them, do all that. I like to spend an hour with
you take
my
time
hands
with
and women's hair, you know. It's a pretty fun little gig.
Roll
you know,
Tide. I mean, that's awesome. But if you
and I cut men too, though. I mean, I do my clipper fades and all that. So there.
Yeah. And just being able to take the time to do something to build like rapport with these customers and keep them coming back, obviously, is like you build your clientele. I have one of my cousins has done hair all of my life, and he had, he could move from salon to salon, and his clients would move with him. That's
you got to build it up, but you've got to build it up and have solid. I mean, if you start hopping around too early, and I think I did out of school. I was trying a bunch of different places. I mean, I did a few months at a classic traditional barber shop, and then I worked at other places where I was more or less an assistant. Just kind of getting my way. You came right out of school.
Yeah.
You don't go right to the first brain surgery. Right out of.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I'm coming up on 4 years now. So I'm kind of at that place.
God, has it been 4 years?
I'm coming up on that, man.
Look at time. I have no concept of time whatsoever.
It's fast. The thing is, it's going faster now. The world's speeding up. We don't realize it.
Well, the theory on that is that, when you're 5, a year lasts forever because it's 1/5 of your life. Mm-hmm. When you're 30, it's 1/30 of your life, so it is mathematically shorter according to your perception.
Yeah.
And but we're not going there. It's spinning faster. But seriously, I will lose years of time and not even think about it. Like it feels. I've been living here for almost 6 or 7 years now, and it feels somewhere around the neighborhood of 2, if that. And I have no concept of time.
I totally know exactly what you're saying, though. I mean, it does feel, like a compact in a smaller spot, but there's a lot of years in there. It's kind of weird.
30 minutes and 3 hours are very, very close to the same thing in my head. Like I'll get done with a gig and I'll look at a clock and I'll be like, really? Or I'll get done with a gig in my head and look at my clock and it's been 30 minutes and I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah. Those are the bad ones.
Yeah, those are the bad ones. What's the worst gig you've ever had?
Oh man,
that's a random question.
Holy
I'm sorry.
Moly.
That just.
What one like really stands out? Probably recently back in probably 2008.
Yeah,
it's like we were just talking about. I mean, that doesn't sound to when I think back. I mean, that doesn't seem that long
Like
ago.
yesterday.
You know, but that was I started in Legends in 2011. You know, and does seem a long time ago. So it's weird.
Yeah, wow, it does.
But is it bad stomach, bucket behind the stage, puking in
Oh,
between
man.
songs, having the show must go on. I mean, that would be the worst.
Oh, no.
And I still think it was one of those cold coffee drinks. You know, earlier in the day, and it was summertime gig, and
The
I
Starbucks
chugged one of
gotcha?
those Starbucks things, and maybe the cream
man.
in it or something, and
Oh,
it was
man.
bad.
Dude, I worked at Starbucks for ever.
Did you?
Yeah, that was what I was doing when I first joined Cornbread, or when we first started Cornbread, rather. I opened the one in North Myrtle Beach, the drive-through.
Right.
The
Yeah.
drive-through
Yeah.
store
Wow.
there.
Okay. Yeah.
Me and I personally didn't open it, but me and
All by yourself?
my crew, yeah, I was
Unlock
amongst
the door. And
yeah, exactly. Cut the ribbon. Me and a crew of about 6 or 7 other people were the first crew that worked at that Starbucks, and
Wow.
I worked there for probably 3.5 years, and then came to the one in Litchfield at
Yeah. You were over there. That was-
Litchfield by the Sea.
Yeah, the one no one knows about.
Yeah, the one no
It's
one
hidden
knows
over there.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they do
I'll-
now, but I mean, for the longest
Yeah.
time, it was like hidden over there, and
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I was there for a long time, but yeah, there's certain smells. If I get that certain smell, I think about work, and I'm like,
Really?
don't want
yeah.
that. I hate work. That's why I do what I do, because work sucks.
It's not fun.
Well, and like once again, go back to controlling your own destiny. Pretty much like you talking about working for yourself, and
Yeah.
that's 100% what you're doing. As long as you're the one to answer to in your
Oh,
own
yeah.
in your own thing, I could deal with that. I could live with that.
It's the same musician, you know. I mean, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But you'll do those little sacrifices, and you'll take those punches or whatever those, or grind it out where you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to grind out if you worked at Home Depot or something. But you
Exactly.
grind it out in that crowd of 2 people,
Yep.
and get to the end of the gig, and
Because at least a shitty day of this is better than a good day of that.
right, you know.
And yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So I have to ask you about this. Yeah, right.
Oh no.
I have to ask you about this. So I have seen. I love your Facebook posts.
Oh no.
I love them because you hold 0 punches.
I just play around, man. There's really a lot
Is that what it is?
A lot of it's tongue in cheek, though. I'll read it back sometimes. I'm like, oh fuck, that does kind of sound bad.
See,
doesn't it?
because I do the same thing. Like I will post 100% tongue in cheek. Like I will post
I might
articles.
get a little I might get if something's
Some
really
blowback?
Yeah, I mean, now if something really is fucked up going on there, man. I mean, the little
Yeah.
punk rocker in me will still say, "There's an elephant in the corner of the room." You know, come on, don't you see it? It's right
Exactly.
over there. You know,
We
Did
need
I hit
that.
Something?
No. This is focus. Nah. We need that. Like we need the person to say, "Hey, this is not right. Nobody's talking about it."
Yeah.
So I will do that.
No, yeah. I mean, or throw my, throw your 2.5 cents in.
Yeah.
Which is only really worth about half a cent by today's inflation.
Yeah,
so-
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's nothing anymore.
No, but any stand out in your mind that you want to?
No, I remember when, I don't know how long ago it's been, obviously because of the concept of time, but I remember one when you ripped Myrtle Beach a new asshole for just the music industry that it had created, and I 100%, I agree with that 100%. Like the Myrtle Beach music industry has sort of created its own monster.
It's really a shame what's going on up there. If you compare it, and you were here and saw what went on up there, you know it can happen. It's already happened there. I mean, some of the best music, when the whole explosion happened, the Hootie explosion in the Southeast, and there were
Yep.
record label people swarming around,
Yeah.
and the drag and Squirrel Almost. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, it could have happened for those guys, what I mean? But this was a steaming volcano of music, from Charleston, Columbia,
Yep.
Myrtle Beach, a lot of it, okay, the scene dies, things change, the record industry, interweb, you know.
Yes, the internet killed all of that.
But so it did. But the spirit, you know, that underground.
Yes.
I mean, do you think the Talking Heads and Joey Ramone and all that were really worried? I mean, they've stumbled into CBGB's by accident, and they let them start doing shows there. And then
Do you know what CBGB stands for?
Country Bluegrass, Country Bluegrass Blues, and oh man, I have to write it out.
No, I was
It
just,
is-
I've
it's
always wondered.
Country Blues, Bluegrass, CBGB.
Okay, Country Blues Bluegrass. Okay.
Country Bluegrass and Blues. That's it, CBGB.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah, CBGB. Could you
Okay,
spell that, please?
Got it. Okay. I've always wondered. I didn't mean to cut your
And
thought off. I'm
Omfog.
sorry.
Because there's Omfog too, and other music and Flabbergasters or something. I mean, it's something really funny like that.
Okay.
Freudenmeisters.
I always wondered. I always see the shirt.
Freudenmeisters.
What does that mean? But anyway, yeah, like those guys stumbling in there, like just randomly.
Yeah, I mean, it was Hillary or whatever. There's a movie about it, and it's like a made for Hollywood movie, but it
Yeah.
does kind of tell its story cool, and a lot
That's
of
cool.
it's accurate if you read all the books and Legs McNeil and all that stuff. But they that's the spirit of a scene, and I mean, and things just by default disappear in the recording studios. I mean,
Yeah.
Brian's still alive. Mackenzie,
Yep.
Mackenzie,
Yeah.
he's the magic touch, but still making great recordings over there
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Man, but it's not like it was. I mean, even when he first put that thing over there, the scene that was the bands that were coming in to record with him.
Yeah.
And it's probably just because there's no venues. So one of the first times I can remember
Yep.
where there's not at least a Lazy Eye or some sort of hub building doing 3 sometimes good, sometimes
Yeah.
terrible original music, because now the kids in the garage are like, okay, let's learn 10 songs a week, open up for so-and-so at the
Yeah.
so-and-so, and they don't have a so-and-so to open up for it. Maybe the Island Bar, but
Yeah.
I can't deal with the smoke though,
Well, I think they just went smoke free.
Thank you, Jesus.
Like literally for they
I
had their
will frequent
15th
there. I'll go there
anniversary.
now.
They had their 15th anniversary last weekend or
Nice.
earlier this week actually, and went smoke free.
Awesome.
And I think it was Thursday night actually. It
And
was
I'm
Thursday
not
night.
hating on smokers, man.
No,
but
me either, man.
I
But
have
listen,
an allergy. I can't be around it. It like totally.
I smoked for years and I quit,
too.
man. I just stopped one day.
And when you're not around it and you're so accustomed now to playing and sweating back there, gasping. I mean, I burn a lot of calories. I mean, especially with spasmatics, man. I mean, it's real high energy.
Oh, yeah.
If we were doing smoky places with that, I would.
Asthma.
Yeah, I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do the gig. And
Well, I would even realize that I used to do Wild Horse, used to be smoking, and there were several other gigs that we did that were a closed room with a lot of smokers.
Beach Wagon.
And,
Remember that?
yeah, well, I remember. I never went though, but I remember the Beach Wagon. The sound guy from the Beach Wagon runs sound for us at Dead Dog every now and again.
Oh,
now.
Jay, yeah.
Jay.
Oh,
Was it Jay?
Well, he was there with Black Label, different phases.
Yeah.
There's a handful of guys that,
exactly.
went in and through those little
Exactly.
Beach Wagon
There was
stories.
a lot of folks came through there. But just realizing that, and even as a smoker back then, when I would come home and I would just take off your shirt and you just smell that the stale Marlboro Red in your shirt, and I'm like, man. And then you're losing your voice so much as you don't realize how breathing in that much smoke on top of being a smoker.
I know, man. It's weird.
Yeah, it
I
ruins
kept
your
a
voice.
sinus infection like every couple of weeks. I was
Same
having
here.
some sort of sinus stuff, and knock on wood, but
Yeah.
there's got to be a link with that. I mean,
Has to be.
and just thrilled. I mean, that's one thing. I started playing Charleston more because it went smoke free down there so early on, and then naturally the group I play with is based out of there. So most of the stuff. But I'm glad to hear that it's finally. I love the Island Bar and what they were doing there, but I tried to go see the Envelopes. One of the last time, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I love you guys, but
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
And
dying.
I'm really stoked that they're doing that because I don't think that's. If you look at Nintendos from houses in the '80s that are just yellow next to you're like, okay, this is what's happening. Yeah, you've seen the Nintendo, the yellow Nintendo. Of course you have, out of a smoker's house. But and it's just the difference is ridiculous.
That's funny.
But like so seeing the scene back in the day and having the original rooms that would allow original music and how because I wasn't here then. I've only seen it as what it is.
When did you get here? Like what?
Oh 06.
Was 06.
06.
I mean, that would have been.
Well, I wasn't in the industry. I was working regular jobs then. I was still not. I made the occasional open mic.
Yeah, but I mean, but it was happening. There was a little energy. I mean, what was the place up there on the right off of. I can't remember the name of it now. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, but they were like, they were doing big bands would come through. I think the Misfits a version of the Misfits came through, and and Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
What's the name of that place? Right up off the highway in that little section right there where the underground and
like the tavern.
Was it
on Broadway?
It was the tavern, but it was kind of up from there. I cannot remember the name of this place, man, and it was. I played there.
I don't know.
That's how fast they come and go, though. I mean, it's like you remember, the one. You can go way back, man, like Mr. Yucks in the '90s. You want to go back to the. When the After Deck, the Purple Gator. Seth Funderburg has a theory about the House of Blues coming, and then all of a sudden, big shows weren't happening at the After Deck or the Purple Gator because you had Live Nation, House of Blues, sort of the mafioso. Well, if we're going to get the big bands coming through,
and they don't even do that anymore.
I know now it's tribute bands, but there was a while that what would have gone to the After Deck, or the Purple Gator. The Ramones played the Purple Gator. Marilyn Manson played Purple Gator. It was just a big.
Where was that?
The Galleria Shopping Center.
Oh, okay. By Rossi.
It's probably a church now.
Dude, you know what?
I just went. We'll close Pandora's bag. We might not.
Nah, if it's the one up behind like CVS and all that stuff, it was a church. Called Seacoast Vineyard.
Club
I
or
think.
a church, right? No.
Whoa. We'll catch that 9-minute delay, Johnny. But no,
Stranger things.
Indeed, stranger things have and will and are happening. But that's just. I hate to hear that there was because maybe Bourbon Street is pretty good with the original stuff and other than Bourbon Street and Island Bar, I don't really see a lot of other places around here that are advertising original music.
No, you're exactly right. And how big is the pool? I know Brian Rossler, and great songwriter. And I worked with some of those folks on that Eventide thing and got to know and saw that there actually was a little more songwriting original going on than I even. But just someone says if it's gone deeper in the underground or they don't have. You just said it earlier though. This is a Jimmy Buffett town, and the bands. If you're going to talk music business and walk that fine line in between making a living but still having some credibility.
Yes, exactly.
The rest of the world is finally catching up with Uncle Tupelo now, which is awesome.
How you like that?
Great. That's.
I'm going where?
I love that stuff, man.
So good.
If we would have had a music conversation from 99, 2000, and 2001, I would have, in the middle of summer, would have been wearing a gabardine Western shirt, man, talking about nothing but Graham Parsons.
Man, it's so funny. Now, do you, because I do that. Like, I will go between different characters, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
And every couple of years, I'll get bored with the character that I've been playing for a little while, and I'll change it up a little bit. And
it's show business, man.
Is that a normal? Like I've always just thought, is that just a musician thing, or is that like a me thing, or?
I know, man. I think everybody. I've had similar conversations with a lot of my musician buddies that you get into something and then you dig deep, and you're like, really, how deep do you go in that?
Yeah.
And like the roads that lead you back to the Velvet Underground. It may have been REM that turned me on to the Velvet Underground in the 80s. And before I knew of Lou Reed, it could have been the past that led you there, And it doesn't take long for the roads to lead back to Graham Parsons if you start talking about Americana and all kinds of that. It's like he birthed it almost.
Now, I haven't gone down that road yet. I probably should do that.
There's some good stuff, man. I
Is
love
that
the
like
Jayhawks,
is that the mouth of where this river starts? Pretty much.
It was that sweetheart of the rodeo, Birds. You know, he was in a thing earlier than that, the International Submarine Band that Lee Hazelwood produced their record, and that was actually the contract that he was tangled up in when he was there recording a member of the Birds for Sweetheart of the Rodeo, but they couldn't release his vocal at the last minute. If you get their original album that came out in the '69 or whatever,
you won't
hear they are the Birds. You won't hear Graham on it, and now they've kind of reissued it.
Yeah,
brought his vocal up a little bit. You know, he was under some kind of management contract with the record deal with the Submarine Band, but he kind of birthed the whole, you know, country rock, cosmic Americana, cosmic American music. That's what he called it, cosmic American. And
I actually may have that. Somebody handed me I get stacks of vinyl from people all the time because I'm such a proponent of it. And somebody handed me a stack of vinyl that had a couple Birds records in it. It might be one of those.
Sweetheart of the Rodeo is a good one. And then look up some the Flying Burrito Brothers, man. The first two that he's, you know, when they were on the Suits, man, Sneaky Pete, and Chris Hillman from the Birds, you know, and
I didn't realize all of those guys were connected.
It is, man. It's like California country thing, you know.
I love California country. You see, I've always called like Dwight Yoakam and Buck Owens and just that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Me too.
I love that sound. And the Winchesters did that for me. Like I'd always loved classic country, obviously, because I'm from Bennettsville. You know,
right,
I mean, I grew up hearing outlaw country. Like that was part of life, and. Just jumping into that Winchester's gig totally altered. And I told Cam and Gentry this the other day that totally altered me as a musician. After that, like, I was like, okay, like before I did the Winchester's thing, I sort of hid from my twang and was embarrassed of the Southern sound, just because I always listened to Death Cab. And like Death Cab for Cutie and
man,
like emo early 2000s emo music, and that was my shit. And I assumed that because I liked that, that's what I wanted to sound like. So I sort of tried to push that twang away a little bit, and the Winchesters like pulled that right out of me. You know, it's like, oh no, you going? We're honky tonking here. And Seth was the one, and God, thank God for Seth Funderburk as well. Trying to get him in to do an episode.
Oh, that would be a great one, man.
Yeah, 5 hours.
Yeah, you need it, man.
but like he was the one that'll always say exactly what needs to be said, whether or not you're gonna like it or not.
Yeah,
and I really appreciate that quality in people, especially like if he has no problem in the world saying that was a good song, but man, you need to put that country in it because it's country, you know, like don't try to hide it. And then of course I get into Jason Isbell, which leads me to Outfit by the Truckers, and it's like, you know, don't sing with a fake British accent. Or, you know, or
there's nothing wrong with putting a little British in. I mean,
I do it in Lucy in the Sky.
Got to.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, and I'm a big Jonestown Massacre fan too. I mean, that's to me is probably one of my favorites.
Oh, Brian Jonestown.
Love that band.
I see the shirt all the time, but I never went down that road.
Well, that's a long road. That guy puts out records like every couple of months. I mean, talk about somebody that has built.
Is he still doing it?
Oh my God, yes. His last record's one of my favorites. I mean, it's like how. You can't really name a lot. Tom Petty was one, the whole catalog. Yeah, not a bad song. Close your eyes, pick an album, and point to a song, and it's going to. But Anton Newcomb is one of those to me, you know, and I think he's got a pretty large following, you know, but you go all the way back to their first records in the mid '90s, you know, the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and all the way up to the record that just came out last week or last month. I mean, he's just churning and burning and putting them out, and he has built up that. And I think he lives in like Berlin, and then the band gets together and tours the States every summer, and
that's awesome. See, like Dylan does the same thing, but like Dylan releases as much garbage as he does like gold.
I'm not a fan of every one of his records.
I think Dylan did to folk music what Miles did to jazz. Like he did as much to help it as to hurt it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like folk people now do a gig and they think that they're supposed to just play their songs and not speak to the audience because that's what Dylan did, and that's not exactly good for a lot of. Like I don't know, I guess it's because I'm a talker, but I want to, and I feel like to build a relationship with a crowd musically is one thing, but if you can also get them to like see you as a person and have a conversation with them in a way, I feel like that connects you to a different part of their brain and makes you more memorable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, and that was totally just a side thought, but here
But
we
you got to
are.
have everybody connects, all of the greats connect with their audience. There was something about them, something about the Beatles, something about the Stones that connected with people. But you
Yeah.
know, Jagger didn't act like Paul McCartney on stage or whatever. And Dylan that was Dylan's thing to be, you know, all weird and introvert and
Yeah.
you know, but anyone tries to do it after him, they sound just like Dylan. And then, you know, who's the Led Zeppelin sounding band right now? We've never heard
Oh
of
my
Zeppelin.
God! Yeah, I know the band you're
I should
talking
go there,
about,
but
and I'm like, I hate that shit. I'm like, you know what? I've heard it before.
You've heard it. They've
Like,
heard of
granted, the
Zeppelin.
Black Angels did it, but they didn't do it trying to sound like Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It just kind of came out like. Did you do the Black Angels at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, they like Passover.
Yeah, man.
Stupid album, but it's stupid good album, and
They're
I
kind
hear
of part
them,
of
but
that scene, that whole kind of Jonestown. Those roads are
Yeah.
connected. What the emo scene you were just talking about, the
Yeah.
alternative, whatever that means today.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's you know, they all intertwine, man. You know, all that stuff.
Well, and I played a gig with Bradley Suggs the other day at the pier with me, Bradley, and Chip.
Oh yeah.
And Bradley was telling me that I was like, you know, I never listened to punk much, but I really like that early 2000s emo. And he was like, man, that's just like I've always thought that was just like a subgenre of punk. He was like, that's pretty much just punk rock that's done a little differently.
Yeah. I
And-
totally agree with that. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
It does have its foundations in, you know, the Pistols and
Yeah,
Black Flag.
exactly.
I mean, those. That's another thing.
But yeah, that one band, what Greta Von Fleet,
Yes, that's them.
Greta Von Fleet, Van Fleet, whatever the fuck. But yeah,
Van Zeppelin.
I'm like, yeah, Greta Van Zeppelin. There you go, Led Van Fleet. But I hear it, and everybody's like, dude, you really need to listen to this band. You really need to like this is a great band. I'm like, you know what? I've heard it before. I got most of it on vinyl. Like
They're a good band. I mean, they can play well
They're a
together and
good
hit the
band.
notes and have the energy, but they don't have what Led Zeppelin had. They're probably not going to go in the history books 30 years from now like
No.
Led Zeppelin is looked at from, you know,
Exactly.
40, 50 years ago.
ripping off a band's sound is almost as blasphemous as just stealing their song, like just literally just taking their songs.
Yeah, that's a weird.
They totally
Blasted.
stole their sound, man, and that's I get it,
But
but
you can't help but have influence. I mean, you know, you could start dissecting some of my old 4-track cassettes and everything back, and you're going to hear what I was kind of listening to. At the
Yeah,
times,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I've
Well-
kept some sort of multi-track unit,
yeah,
you know. But if I did something that sounded just like, you know, Anarchy in the UK,
when you notice it, you change it,
and I said,
right?
I've never heard of the Sex Pistols. I don't even know who you're talking about. You
Yeah.
know? And I wrote this song on my own, you know. I am you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like-
This is like I came up with this, and I have a theory on that, or not a theory, but just my personal belief on that is that if you come up with something in your own mind and it just so happens to sound like something else that you have never heard,
Right.
then that's up
There's
for
some
grabs,
theories.
I
There's
think.
some theories on that the ideas and stuff's floating out there, and
Absolutely,
you know,
it's
different people
just-
just sort of grab them, and then you can be working on two pieces. Well, they said, you know, that people can be working on two stories, short stories,
Yes.
on different parts of the world, and then they come together and say, "Wow, I was, you know, that same time I was writing that same
Yeah.
story, you know, and I was, you know, but
Well, I love that thought because as a songwriter, I will get done with a song and I'll look at it and be like, where did this come from?
yeah,
Like, where this is not.
you went like outer
Me.
body, and then
Yes.
did the art and kind of came back and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, and a lot of those songs, and I've talked about it in episodes before, that a lot of them just fall out. Like they're done before I realize it. And it's like, you know,
Cream. Stream of consciousness.
Yeah,
What are they talking
exactly.
about?
Cream of conscious soup.
That's a whole other podcast. There, but
We're going to call this the cream of consciousness soup talk.
I like it. I like it. That is it.
But but seriously,
it
like
went.
I'll sit there and I'll start writing or whatever, and then like 10 minutes later, a song is finished, and I'm like, okay, so I'm not in any way responsible for this.
I know. Yeah, totally. I know exactly what you're.
So I 100% believe that there's just shit floating around out there just trying to get out, and it's just like, for lack of a better term, like if you watch horror movies, it's like a demon that's floating around looking for a vessel so that it can get through to the world, like or
It's an energy force or something like that. And it
Absolutely.
sort of like channels through you. You know, I mean, I've read some of those. I've watched some of those stuff. I've
Yeah.
watched some of those stuff.
some of those things. No, seriously, it's I 100% agree with that. But if you come up with this idea on your own and it is something that you randomly pluck from the universe by yourself, and that comes out that sounds like something that's already happened, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But this band, and
They've heard of Led Zeppelin.
yeah, exactly. They just ripped off Led Zeppelin's sound, and he ripped off Robert Plant's voice. And I'm sorry, but for Robert Plant to all right. I saw James Hetfield share this thing yesterday. It was these three girls, like 14. Did you see it?
I've seen
14,
some of that stuff.
10, and
He
9
shares a lot of like kids and yeah.
covering Sandman.
I did, yes. Amazing.
And it was great. The drummer, dude, the drummer, she was like 9 or 12 or something like that.
Better
and,
than Lars. Oh, sorry, Lars.
Yeah, sorry, Lars. The best part about Lars are those drumsticks. But seriously, this girl or these girls were awesome, and James shared that, and he's like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
These Greta Von Fleet, they're grown people. Am I right? Are they grown people?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm sure they're.
Pretty much. They're not kids learning how to play music. They have literally just. Why not just be a
Right,
Led
yeah,
Zeppelin
they're not
cover
like
band
Hanson
at
or
that
anything.
point? They're not. Yeah, exactly. They're not bopping their way to the studio, but
Even Hanson, though. Even Hanson. I mean, we all know, we all laugh. Mbop. They're Mbop laughing to the bank while we go, Carl Hanson and Mbop, you know.
dude, I saw them play that song recently on a Facebook video, and nostalgia's sake, I watched the whole thing
How could you not? How could you not?
unashamedly.
You know what I think? Here's my theory on this, man. Where are the great producers? Where are the Butch Vig took Nirvana,
R.I.P. Rick Hall.
but it would have been really cool, and maybe it could still happen. I mean, let that little band, the Zeppelin,
Yeah,
Zeppelin Jr.
exactly.
But get them, a really great producer that can take them and their talent and their sound, their rock sound, but shape something, pull their thing out of it. Maybe they just kind of needed to go do a Zeppelin tribute record, and they'll find their own thing, and
Yeah,
and take it on out. Because I mean, Led Zeppelin didn't keep rewriting rock and roll. I mean, they did all their orchestra and
Yep.
all that stuff. Kind of
every album was a new
Jimmy Page
branch off that tree.
Jimmy Page was one of the top session guitarists and a producer before he put Led Zeppelin together as the
Yeah.
new project, because he was doing all that session work and played on a million,
Yes.
all that stuff. That's where the whole Bow thing came from. Was some studio overdubs and that whole.
I
Actually,
didn't know that.
he might have. It was a guy from The Creation. Hold on a minute.
Uh-oh, I see
Hold
something
on a
working
minute.
behind the
I think
eyes.
I remember something about The Creation, like Making Time, or
With the bow lead.
where that guy played a Les Paul with a bow and did it before Jimmy Page, maybe?
So maybe Greta Von Fleet is literally following in their footsteps, because that's how Zeppelin was formed.
Exactly. Who was
What did Keith
Zeppelin
Moon
to
say about it?
say-
What did Keith Moon say about it?
They're gonna
That'll go
bomb
over
like
like a Led Zeppelin. Be like, you
Moon.
know what? We should probably name the band that. Oh God, Keith Moon was, and Zach Starkey's doing a fantastic job covering those fills. By the way,
Yes.
Ringo created something good.
Yeah, man.
And all right, before I move further, I'll have this thought later, because that could go further than I think. I'll finish this first. But Zach Starkey's doing a really good job with filling those Keith Moon things. But man, I don't know that there is another artist who has who has the horror stories of their playing time, or not horror stories, but just the things that they did, the outlandish shit that they did than Keith Moon does.
Oh God.
Like his driving the Rolls Royce into the pool at the Hilton or whatever.
Right.
Like who does that?
Oh man. I mean,
That animal?
can you imagine somebody trying to pull that today? Like the little drummer from Greta Van or something, and all of a sudden he goes on a Keith Moon thing. I would like reading those stories. It would be highly entertaining, but I mean, you just don't hear about some rock kid throwing.
The ages of hotel rooms being destroyed are done, I believe.
Yeah, that's not going to happen anymore, is it? No
We
more
need you to
television.
destroy some hotel rooms, guys. We need you to get on top of that. Throw some TVs out the window.
Go get your tools. Let's take this flat screen down and throw it through the bulletproof window.
Yeah. Wasn't wasn't that a thing in Spinal Tap, where they didn't even sleep in the hotel room, like they just showed up and ripped it to shreds and then just left,
Maybe so.
or something like that. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about.
It might have been Spinal Tap, something different. But either way, the thought that I had in the whole Ringo thing. How do you feel about Ringo as a drummer?
I like Ringo. He's got that swing in his right arm, and he has a feel.
He brushes the
feel,
hi-hats.
F-E-E-L.
Yes.
But he does have that kind of swing, the Ringo swing. It was interesting to learn that some of my favorite Beatles songs may not have even been Ringo drumming, but maybe I might be a bigger fan of Paul McCartney's drumming.
Yeah.
Even some of the early Wings when he was doing all the solo stuff, and he was drumming that, and you go, wait a minute, that sounds like, a lot of that later stuff, especially, I think he drummed, when they had the big towels over the drums. And that real dead drum sound, and it was real parts. It wasn't just a, hi-hat, kick, snare, and four on the floor.
Yeah.
It was more parts, like where they just kind of play. It's kind of hard to explain.
I wonder if that's why they stopped touring.
They always said it was for monitoring, and they couldn't get above the screen.
But what if they just didn't want to hurt Ringo's feelings?
Yeah, if they wanted to start playing, how would those songs have come off live? I mean, the Rooftop stuff sounds good, though, but that was,
All those songs were pretty straightforward. Well, I don't know. Don't Let Me Down's got that pause that waits for a second. But then again, Ringo's fine with not playing, I think, for a couple seconds.
I mean, I love Ringo's drumming, man, but I don't know. I don't think anybody really. Does anybody really know the songs? I mean, I'd want to see the list of what Ringo played on and the list of what Paul McCartney played on.
I would like to see that list as well. And I obviously thinking of. I just thought of this. Ringo was the badass of the band. He was the oldest of the band, and he was like the one who would apparently just fight at the drop of a hat. He didn't care. Like if they had problems getting the money or whatever for a gig, Ringo would be the one to deal with the manager or the club or whatever to get the money. And so maybe they thought Ringo would just beat the shit out of him if they told him.
True. I don't think the Beatles would have become the Beatles if Pete Best would have stayed in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the four. It was kind of like Kiss. You had four.
R.I.P. Eric.
Yeah. But it was. There are those great bands. And you pull any one of those guys out of the band, and they're probably not the greatest musician in the world, but man, when those guys play together, a magic happens
that was the sound.
Session drummer or guitarist couldn't come in and get that sound. REM is another band like that. There's I think that REM sound, you couldn't have had Jim Keltner and whoever coming in doing those guitar parts and drum parts.
Michael Stipe's a wizard.
Oh man, but
I was talking to Daryl. Hi, you know Daryl.
Oh yeah, I love Daryl, man.
Daryl's great. Me and Chip and Daryl have the American Sound, the little power trio.
That's cool.
But talking to Daryl, and he was like, oh shit, what was the drummer? I lost that thinking about Daryl.
Ringo Starr, Zach Starkey.
Oh man, I totally just lost my thought in the middle of just thinking about. Man, I love Daryl. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a second when I remember. But Daryl was telling me something about some drummer, some random fact that I'm sure it'll come back in the world. See, the universe robs as much as it gives you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to stay alert. There's a lot going on out there right now.
There is.
Grab and run.
Yeah, there is. But anywho. I don't know. I've always thought, and I haven't even factored in the fact that that Paul could have been playing most of those drum
It's a
fills in the
mystery,
Beatles.
you hear that, the
There-
folklore, more folklore, urban, and then there's pictures, from, you see those pictures where he's behind the kit a lot.
Yeah.
They're all, but you just don't know if they were taking a break or whatever, and
Yeah.
George Martin was a big part of the Beatles too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I believe that a lot of they would not have gone. I don't know if they would have gotten as big and as technical with like the orchestra and all that stuff if it hadn't been for George.
No, it wouldn't have. He was happened quickly and efficiently, and back in those days too. Can you imagine trying to bring in? You didn't have a patch on a keyboard that you could get somebody you had to call in the string players and have all that arranged. You were just going to call them from across town, come in and have the music ready. This was called "I Am the Walrus."
Yeah. Because George's like, okay, we're going to have to do something different here.
It's like
there was a thing where Ringo was asked one time, like, Ringo, you're the best drummer in the world. How does it feel to be the best drummer in the world? And Ringo was like, man, I'm not even the best drummer in this band.
right, yeah, I've read that. I mean, but it had to be those four to become the Beatles, in Hamburg,
Yes.
however it started, and they got him from Roy and the Storm, or whatever
Yep.
the band that he came from, and and Ludwig. I mean, look what they did for Ludwig drums. I mean, that's a whole other
Well, and not only that,
guitars and
the 4-piece kit.
yeah.
The 4-piece kit, because everybody back in well, I don't know, maybe this was pre that, but when the big kit showed up, was that 70s more?
Yeah, that was probably, and those later, and on that rooftop, Ringo's using 2 ragtoms. I mean, kits are starting to get bigger, and they're starting to get deader. The single head itself would come in, where it's like toms that sounded kind of like that, So,
Yeah.
toot, 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 toot.
Now, are you a fan of that, or do you use any muffle? Do you use like?
Depends on the music, man. I personally like a wide open drum sound and minimal miking.
Like the bottom?
Yeah, that's what I like, and ringy drums, ringy
Yeah.
snares. But I also love a big old fat Don Henley wallet taped to a flappy loose snare head.
Oh, yeah.
Because that works with music, and
I like
depends on the song.
I like when I played kit. I like the deadened. I would deaden the toms as much as I could. Just I don't know why, but I like the. I don't know. I just like the and I'm a fan of reverb. Obviously, if I love My Morning Jacket and anything where they throw like.
That's what I was just thinking of, man. When you were like, for some reason,
pound reverb into everything. Like I love that, but I like to add that. Like when I recorded with a Christian band once, and the drummer played with really dead toms, but we added a lot of reverb, and it was like. I know it's like digitally doing what the drum could do, but I could control how much it would
sound.
do that.
It is a different. It's that kind of that real '70s drum sound,
Yeah.
And then the '80s got real, gated, and the big hair metal snares and all that stuff, And that
Well, then the electric drums showed up.
They were kind of acoustic drums started emulating electric drums, and electric drums were trying to emulate acoustic drums, and they ended up with the sound.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't. How are you on the electric? Did you ever play any electric kits ever? Or have you?
I kept a little Roland V drum kit out in my drum room
Just for rehearsal?
It was the only way, man. That back to the Legends gig
because it makes you hit perfect every time.
Well, when you're in the middle of a show that's running 6 days a week,
yeah,
you're already getting the material for the other 4 or 5 acts that are going to be coming up in the next month or two. So a lot of my work day was. Wake up, go to rehearsal Legends, do the show, come home, go out to my studio with the music and the tracks for the upcoming show, start rehearse for another couple hours after I got home every night. But I have an electronic kit, I could have my little mixer, and then I had my click in this ear, my backing tracks in here, and my mix of my electric drums, and I didn't wake up the whole neighborhood either, because a lot of my rehearsal was done at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah, well, and talking about before we got started, being a vampire, man. Like I'm a 100%. Like my active time is exactly. My active time is this is morning. Like this may as well be 10, 11 in the morning for me.
Yeah.
Because I won't go to sleep until 6.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Not
so much that now anymore because I'm working in Mount Pleasant doing hair, so I've got to get up on those days and do all that. And,
now, do you live here or there?
I live in Pawleys.
Okay. So you're
south end of Hagley, though. I mean, I'm like the last
Yeah.
part of Follies before you come to no man's land there.
Oh, yeah.
Rich man's land.
Exactly. That is all. That is not all no man's land, but that is definitely a rich man's land for sure.
But back in Hagley, man, Hagley's awesome back there. Well, no, never mind. Disregard that. Hagley is terrible, and there's nothing left back there. It's all.
You don't want to live there.
Don't live.
You
there.
don't want anything. You don't want any of that. You don't want anything to do with that. So yeah, I hate that I can't remember that thing that Daryl told me because that's bothering me. But anyway, we'll come out of that. So going back to the Myrtle Beach scene and having seen it from what it was to what it became, and do you feel like that the House of Blues might have been that turning point?
It did. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Seth said that, I went, "Oh man, no kidding." The House of Blues popped up, and then all of a sudden, all of the big shows that came through Myrtle Beach were at the House of Blues and the Purple Gator, and then the After Deck, and these other places that existed just kind of stopped. They stopped. I mean, they were no more. I don't even know whatever. They tore the After Deck down recently, didn't they? I mean, that building is not even there anymore. They tore all that stuff down.
Yeah, that does sound right.
Connected back up there to the dollhouse, which I'm not sure if that was ever a church, but wait a minute.
Yeah, you know what? It could have been.
What's funny? Holy boobiness.
What's funny? I don't remember who said this, but somebody said that in Myrtle Beach, the nicest buildings are churches and strip clubs.
Got the most money.
They got the most money.
Hello, thank you.
And see, I have an issue with it now. Like my dad is a very religious person. He's like a minister of sorts, and he has a church in Bennettsville, and it's a very small church with maybe 30 members.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And I know that whatever that church does, any tithe that they get is not going to anything negative. But if you've got like these mega churches with thousands of people per service, and there's like, and I'm a Christian, I love God. I don't throw that out into the world often because I'm
spiritual, man.
Because I don't want to be labeled as such. Because a lot of my brethren and people in Christianity are just, for lack of a better term, shitting on what this thing is lately, and I hate that, and I bring that up a lot, but I can't get behind these people that are these giant buildings that they don't even own, that they're paying X amount of dollars in rent per month, and that's where they need this money from. And it's like, that's why they're bringing people in. Is that why you're bringing people into the church, so you can afford this building, or is it to bring people to God? Because
seeing the sound systems and the productions. I mean, I played a couple of those churches, man. I did some church drumming.
Yeah, I was in the church band once.
And I did more subs. I never held a permanent every Sunday, but I did filled in, at a couple of them around. And I'd get in there, and it's like, man, you guys got better shit than Legends.
And they pay.
It's like, just the whole, everything. I mean, a lot of, it's theater production, but my thing was, I know where my spiritual beliefs lie, and it was hard for me to be on stage and even just take the money for a Sunday morning gig, because I didn't agree with a lot of what there was a couple of incidences in my mind I'm thinking of, but I'm sitting up there behind the drums, and and he starts doing his thing and preaching his views, and I'm back there going like, oh, I don't agree with that. Oh no, I don't agree. Oh no, and I'm just like kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, I
you
just
don't
wanted
see
to kind
me
of
here.
slide out and run out back door. It's just like, but that was the problem. It's like, okay, I'm not a whore. I can't just take the money. I have to believe, even being a spasmatic and putting on a nerd clothes and playing Video Killed the Radio Star, that's still fun, and I'll take the money for that, and I love the guys in the band. But to be on church, my dad was an Episcopalian priest, and still is.
Okay.
And so I have, I know where I stand.
Yeah, same here.
In everybody's eyes, and I couldn't just take the money and do it, go treat it like a Sunday morning gig,
Yeah. That's what, and for the same thing that I've said about doing a lot of the same set list with and I say we do a lot of the same set list. We've gotten away from it a little bit, but just getting bored in the same thing that you do regularly, and that making you sick of music. which is something you love. Like, I love God, and I grew up in church, and I graduated from a Christian school, and like I've read the Bible from front to back, from Genesis to Revelation, like a book,
Right.
not just in like I read it all the way, and like I love this stuff, but just being in the church band kind of robbed me of some of that because and I did the church band for a couple of years, like I like every Sunday and every Saturday rehearsal for a few years, or a couple years at least, and just being in there and seeing behind the scenes and just going to get-togethers with people and just seeing certain people that I see in church every Sunday living a certain life, and I realize that everybody's not perfect, but
Right.
if you're gonna stand in front of people
Then
and
don't claim to be. Ooh. Right.
yeah, right, don't act like that. Don't show people that. Like, if you show people who you are, like I've said it 1,000 times since I said it on the podcast, but I'd rather be honest than liked. Like, I don't care what people think. I just want to be honest.
Yeah. That's needed today.
You know?
Real heavy. It's needed badly. The truth is needed.
The
like
truth
it's
is
never been needed before.
No shit.
We need a new. I keep waiting for the new MC5. Where are the kids that are going to hit a stage and be like,
Yeah, exactly.
and just let it rip and let it hang out in the spirit of, Iggy and all, and go to take it back to. Don't stop at Led Zeppelin, man. Let's go all the way back to Iggy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get radical, now's the time. Now's the time for the new punk rock. You know what I mean? I keep waiting for it. I'm going to lead it the way. I was like, come on, kids, let's go get them.
Now, are we, because of everything going on in the world now, where everybody is just the awareness is so heightened, is it possible for us to get back there at this point? I don't
know, man. I mean, I feel like it's really needed, and it's a wide open time for it. But there's also, I mean, people are generally. When the Sex Pistols came over and toured America and played the country bar in Texas that the next night Merle Haggard was playing, and I think that's where Sid Vicious took his bass off and slugged the guy from throwing beer at him. Today, if somebody that radical came out going, we're the anti-America rock and roll, they're doing like MC5, would people show up and shoot them dead on stage?
That's the issue, and that
You're messing with my life. I mean, this is like, I want to make a statement, and I want us all to come together and fight about it and argue about it, and come on, put up your dukes. No, pull out your fucking guns. I mean, it's like, I think that's what I think is hindering a lot of art for fear of your getting killed.
And never in the history of the world has that been the case.
I don't remember, not in my lifetime. I mean,
or not in the history of the modern world has that been the case, where you could be literally killed for just your viewpoint. And that's what America was founded upon, so that people could have their own viewpoint. Like, I had this conversation with Smitty, and he's a Marine. He was saying, dude, if I see somebody on the street stomping on an American flag, yeah, I'll probably fuck them up. And I'm like, but did you realize that? And granted, I don't agree with anybody stomping on an American flag. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But do you realize that's what they fought for? That's what you're fighting for?
You're
fighting for their people's freedom.
You can be mad at America right now, can't you? I mean, it's kind of a.
I'm very disappointed in America. I'm very disappointed in our country, or the people of our. I love America. I have a Declaration of Independence on my wall right there. I mean, I love this country.
Because it's a country that you can exercise your right to be happy or pissed off or.
Exactly, and the people of this country are trying their damnedest to rob themselves of this right. And they have no idea that they're trying to rob themselves of this right. They just think that, because this person doesn't believe like I believe, or my circle or this side believes all of these things that I have to believe, then those people on that side, they don't get the right to do this thing because that's against what I believe. But that's what this country is for. Like, so everybody can have their own. You can be your own person, and you don't have to fall into a category. But now we're just categorizing everything where there is no need for it. Personally, I think so.
I read something recently that said when we're sitting at a Starbucks and two people are going to start having a political conversation, and a security guard comes over and cracks your knuckles with a billy club, then we've hit really the bad times. You know,
Yes.
It's like, how unrealistic is it to think of that? Would it ever happen? You're just like, no, that could never happen in America.
This
And
day
now
and
you
age.
go, I could almost see, maybe not quite that extreme at first, but like no political talk allowed in public. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, y'all can't be talking about that in here in this coffee house.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have only talks about puppies and babies, you know, or whatever.
What's funny is there would need to be a sign for it today, but 30 years ago, that was just understood. You just don't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy times, man. I mean, I worry about it now. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, so my whole viewpoint of the world is differently because I'm looking through the eyes of a daughter. My kid, what's she going to grow up into, you know? So got her on a healthy, steady diet of Ramones.
Good. Anarchy.
Little dead Kennedys thrown in, Jello. Brilliant, man. I'm a huge Jello for president, man. Do it. Do it, man. Run. Do it, Jello. Run. We need you.
If there was ever a time when it were possible, it is today.
He almost won San Francisco mayor there years ago. Came damn close. The lead singer from the Dead Kennedys.
Dude, you know, I love it when people do that. I love it when celebrities say, you know what, I'm going to just run for office to see. Obviously, you see how far that can go now. But, yeah, we're totally not going there. But, and I've done really well. And even in life, I say I'd rather be honest than liked. If I felt a certain way about this whole situation, I would voice it. But I'm right down the middle, man.
Gotta be. I mean, I've got friends in both. I mean, the only sides I practice are good and evil.
Yes.
Good and evil.
Absolutely.
We're all just matter hurling a million miles an hour through space on a rock.
Absolutely. That's all we're doing.
All of us. Even the little North Korean guy with the
hair. With the haircut.
I'm trying to figure out that haircut.
And the marching people. Have you had anybody come in and request that one?
The government officials in all of the countries, none of them have really, I mean, you know, even ours, I mean, the hair is an issue, man. we shall overcome.
This is a conversation that needs to be had. We need political hair awareness. A hairness.
I fully agree with that.
A hairness.
Yes. Yes.
See, and you've seen the pictures of ours with where the wind blowing the back. Like, at what point do you just give up? You know, like, come on, man. Like, now you see this
go a different route.
Wonderful locks here, but you know what? If ever it starts to go, it's just gonna go. And I mean.
But he's got the money. I mean, he has the money. He could go a different route, and there are things out there that are different than what he's doing. You know, the comb over thing is. I mean, there's. I think to take hair from back here and put it up here and do all kind of. You know, I mean, there's stuff, but maybe I mean.
You know what is great, and I just thought about this. Is like, what if it wasn't there and he just looks like the Hulkster?
I think he would be taken more seriously, man, if he did just have no hair, you know, and it was just sort of, you know, buzz short everywhere. I mean, his whole thing would probably be less. Man, he's, you know, all right, man. I'm just gonna shut up.
No, well, Putin's got that. Putin's got the close knit haircut, and you know he's losing it on the top. You know, I don't think his country cares.
No,
maybe I don't know. I'm not there. We should we go further with this?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
This is.
That's skating into the territory where we will piss off listeners.
Oh yeah.
And I've got no problem doing that. But if we're gonna piss off listeners, I want to at least do it in a way where we can better our area or whatever have you, rather than like in the music situation with I really want to. And there's a few, you know, that little area in Myrtle proper right there with Bourbon Street and then Pine Lakes.
Yep.
And then you got like, I think Hurricane Maggie's is up there in that area.
Yeah.
Like where Jeff and Jen Thomas are at Apron Strings, and then Brian Rossler.
Mm-hmm.
That little area right there is really cool with allowing a band to do what they want to do.
That's true. There is a Pine Lakes. I left them when I was thinking of places, but it's so hard to take the old Droopies and get people back in that back room. They still
they want to see you by the ice machine.
Exactly.
They want you to play by the ice machine.
And I said the whole time it was Droopies, man, there should be the bands in the back. There's a stage back there even, you know, that little banister that there used to be tables on, which is now the stage. But people just do not. They breeze through there, and then they go back up front, and then they have the music playing up front and everything, too. So I commend them for allowing shows to happen back there. You know, we had some fun Velvet Underground stuff back there. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But, man, it was hard to keep it, you know.
Yeah, see, and now when I play there, it's usually just me and Smitty duo, so they'll put us right by the front door. Like, as soon as you walk in, they'll move that one table.
See, now
that's great.
That is.
And those people really dig whatever you've got going on, that whole area. But
that's sweet.
I love where I live. I love my marsh walk, and I spent countless hours on this marsh walk, hammered as shit before I quit drinking. And
me too.
Yeah,
way back when, probably before it was marsh walk. But I mean, Myrtle's Inlet, Garden City has always had its own little hub too. I mean, let's go back to Sandpiper's Magic Bus.
Oh yeah,
you know there was always. I mean, you can get
Sandpiper's had Government Mule.
Yeah, I mean, I will never forget watching Hootie and the Blowfish sound check Hold My Hand in the Magic Bus, which is Greg's now. The little tiny.
Greg's Cabana?
Yes.
Oh shit! Really?
It was a little tiny place called the Magic Bus. I mean, you'll run into people that remember that, but it was Jane Silver doing, you know, a lot of underground rock. I mean, underground stuff for 88, 89, 90.
Holy shit!
I mean, and Hootie and the Blowfish, you know, a new bar band kind of floating around, and
that's random. I wonder if there's a Hootie and the Blowfish amongst us and we don't see it yet. Doubt it.
It's crazy.
Well,
man.
see, this is the thing. If there were a Hootie and the Blowfish amongst us, you probably wouldn't see it because most of us are doing covers. You know, outside of like Sweet and
you're right.
outside of Sweet and like Oracle Blue and those guys who are actually doing their own shit, and,
music, right?
And even Paperwork, who will do covers, but they totally do their own thing with it, and that's great.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and you got to keep working. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, now we're right back on that. You know, I mean, just walking that fine line between keeping it. I commend the bands that can kind of keep their original music with the covers. You know, and kind of do the best.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You don't even see as much of that anymore, though. It's like, you know, staying busy, staying booked.
Yes.
You know, if you're a working band, you've got to kind of cater to.
Yes. If you have bills and no other job, you have to do what you got to do.
You can take a band, the Spasmatics, which they're a franchise band. They kind of exist and know. You know how that whole thing works. You know, there's the Charleston, the South Carolina one. You know, but you can look at the song lists. Take the one from Austin, Texas, or there's one on the West Coast. We met the guy from San Francisco. He was at their Hilton Head show. Yeah. And happened to be on the East Coast.
And that's the Spasmatics?
And he was like, I play in the Spasmatics in San Francisco. You know, and we got together and started exchanging notes. And he was talking about the songs that they do. And
now, I didn't realize that was a thing.
Perfect World Entertainment, management company out of Vegas, franchise out. There's Spasmatics placed all over the country.
Holy shit. So how many people have you come up and like, yeah, man, I play drums with the Spasmatics. Holy shit, I saw you guys.
All the time.
And we
saw you guys in New Orleans last on our honeymoon.
Do you just play it?
Yeah, we just go, oh, yeah.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Unless it's obvious. I mean, then sometimes, you know, we'll get into the conversation and people more people know than you would think that are like, oh, yeah, you guys, I know what you do. I saw the San Antonio Spasmatics at the blah, 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 you know.
Oh, shit. So do you guys advertise it with your city, or is it just the Spasmatics everywhere?
Well, it's the Spasmatics, and then if you're going to do like your Facebook or whatever,
okay,
I mean, ours is Spasmatics SC.
Okay, okay.
And, but it's, you know, we book a certain amount of shows ourselves, or Spencer does, and kind of the band leader.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, he's the liaison between the management and then,
okay.
You know, so we can kind of book ourselves, you know, smaller places, and then the management will actually get us, you know, X number of good, you know,
holy shit
things, private events. I mean, we went to Charlotte and played some rooftop thing that was
the tin roof.
No, it was up on top of this hotel, real swank, and it was a private party for these. You know,
oh man!
And so they get us for stuff like that, which is, I mean, and you know.
Oh yeah, those are the ones.
You know. So.
Yeah, those are the ones. See, what's funny is, if you stick with it long enough, you'll be able to get to that point to where you can do less gigs, but you make the same amount of money.
Work smarter, not harder.
Indeed, work smarter, not harder. And if you stay with it, I think, and like I've said in several episodes past, attrition is key.
Mm-hmm.
just sticking in a situation,
Staying
you
in
know,
it.
because really have to do is outlast
That's
the
true,
competition.
man. I mean, really, and stay and people like familiar. I think that's why, I posted this little thing one time. You might have seen this, and it's the little British guy, and he breaks down why modern music sucks so bad. Number one, there's
Okay.
like 2 or 3 songwriters writing everything.
Yes.
And then they talk about even in the frame of notes and where they keep modern pop music, why it's so similar.
Yeah.
And they keep these real familiar, because people recognize, they like what they I kind of recognize that. Oh, I like it. I love it. I love this song, even though I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
The Martini Girls with her person
Yeah.
spilling her drink on her front. No, that, but you know what I mean.
Were you in Montreux last night? Did you see her? Did you see that girl? Yeah.
So I was just thinking of, because I'm like, you picked, I love this song.
Yeah.
But it's the familiar. They're hearing it for the first time, but it's got that familiar. That's why, the new Taylor Swift songs, and they know it's going to sell and be huge because it's got that same thing to it.
And I don't mind people who exploit that knowingly, like a Bruno Mars, for instance, who realizes this is what's happening, and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Right.
I'll take this money.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm
But
fine
there's
with
those
that.
that can kind of
But
slip through with their own thing, though.
He does the dress up thing, like he'll come out on stage dressed as Prince and play a Prince song.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's like, okay, this is he's paying homage to whoever he's
Right.
whoever he's ripping off.
Right. Paying tribute to.
Yeah,
Well, he was a
exactly.
tribute artist before, wasn't he a tribute
Really?
guy?
He might have been, because he's really good at I've seen him do that a lot with other characters.
He was a tribute guy, and I kind of heard that through the tribute world.
Okay.
That there was some kind of link with him with the tribute thing,
Huh.
kind of how he got his start.
I could
Michael
totally see
Jackson,
that.
Maybe
He could 100% be I could hear it in his voice how he could be a Michael
he
Jackson
might have been
tribute.
a Michael. And there are some world-class entertainers doing the tribute thing, man. And
Yeah.
I met a bunch of them, and they are, outside of being a tribute artist to who they're tributing, they've got some really spectacular things themselves too. You kind of in the back. Sometimes I would be like, wonder if you weren't just being, wonder what could have happened if you would have ever been given the opportunity or the right producer walk into the club and you're singing and giving you the chance to. There's some really great talent, but living 3 months here, 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months here, 3 months here.
Yeah.
And living out of a suitcase with a big road case full of Elvis costumes.
Like if somebody would have never gone up to Ray Charles and said, "Man, I want to hear what Ray sounds like. I've heard Nat King Cole."
Yeah.
Like, wonder what that world would have been like. You hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that we need legit producers who will, because musicians are very quirky. We're very quirky, and we're also very confident in that what we're doing is the right thing to do, no matter what that may be. We're very confident in that. And now it takes a lot of it takes a certain amount of a constructive criticism that you can be able to take to advance musically. You don't want to reach that plateau, and that plateau may be high. That you may be a fantastic artist, but there still may be something that you need, somebody to say, "Oh, well, why don't you try this?"
Well, man, dude, I mean, I was a big fan of Nirvana Bleach, and that was the band Nirvana and an engineer sitting behind the desk at Sub Pop Records going, "Okay, cool, it sounds awesome,"
Yeah.
But what if Nirvana and the engineer from Sub Pop would have gone to make Nevermind, the big DGC record, and there was no Butch Vig?
Yeah.
I mean, when you watch the making of that record and hear how much input Butch Vig and I'm a huge fan of Garbage, and I think he's a phenomenal drummer too, but he. Like the whole something in the way, and just the way that what they had to go through to get Kurt's vocals right, and how to pull it out of them, and how to push them, and how they mix the guitars. It's not big enough. We need to do 3 more overdubs, and
dynamics.
Right.
There were no dynamics.
Loud, quiet.
In Bleach, really, it was loud.
Exactly. But he really kind of just took it and would it have been that same, would it have had that same impact? Probably not,
Exactly. And just even to go back to some of the greatest recordings of all time, like you're saying, the Beatles, without George Martin
Without
being
George
there
Martin,
to say
man.
this. And I didn't realize how awesome George Martin was until the Love album was released, the Cirque du Soleil album.
Yeah.
Because that was all him and Giles.
Yeah.
And basically, did you know that story where Giles wanted to learn how to work the studio, wanted to be a
that's
producer?
right.
So
That's
George was
right.
like, if you're going to do it, we're going to do it the right way, and you're going to mix together all the Beatles songs. And him and Giles got together,
Oh,
and
yes, I did hear that story. That's amazing, man.
like imagine that class,
Wow.
like that just a few weeks of work.
And you know, back then, man, I mean, they were sliced when they went to do an edit. There was a razor blade with tape, and we're going
Yes.
to cut that track out and retape it over
Yep.
here and put it off. And now you just go on your monitor and be like, all right, that's done.
Gosh, GarageBand is, and I use GarageBand for everything. Like
Yeah.
even people will be like, oh man, you need to use like Pro Tools or Audacity or whatever, and I'm
Just
like, you
whatever
know what,
works,
man, the Pro Tools thing is cool. And everybody talks shit about Pro Tools too, but you still have to play those parts. You know, you can tweak things in them. But I like GarageBand because GarageBand doesn't offer the ability to like alter a note.
Right.
You
It was
know.
probably in there if you, although you could
It
probably,
may
there's
be,
probably
but-
a way you could, who knows?
Yeah, you're
What's-
right. Technology is.
I don't trust modern recordings a lot of times. You hear somebody, and you can kind of hear it in that vocal too, where it does that share, do
Yeah.
you believe thing, and it's like,
Yeah.
I heard that. Modern country. Ooh,
Oh man, there's the
don't even have to go
T-Pain,
there,
the
man.
T-Pain vocal, dude. No, let's go there. Let's go there because
all
I
right.
listen.
What time is it? How am I doing on time?
Bro Country, we're a little over an hour and a half. We'll give this a little. We're at 5:30.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
yeah, okay. We're gonna come to a close here shortly. But before we
Let's
do,
bitch about some new country crap. No. Let's piss
Bro Country,
let's piss off some
piss
young
off the
girls.
people. I'm sorry, young girls. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, whoever listens to this shit. I'm sorry, guys. If you like this new country, and I've said it on the microphone, when somebody comes up and says, do you play any country? I will say yes. We play a lot of country, but we don't do any of this crap that they're putting on the radio calling country because it ain't country.
No, it ain't.
Man, Dwight Yoakam back. That's country.
Marty Stewart today, though.
Yeah.
There is somebody still out there in
Oh,
Nashville.
oh yeah, absolutely.
But yes, I mean it's
Marty Stewart is and you know what's funny is a lot of those guys have switched to gospel. A lot of those guys are doing gospel music now, and you got
Have you
somebody.
seen the Fabulous Superlatives?
No,
Ooh,
with Marty.
Marty Stewart
I
and
saw
his
Seth went to see him.
Fabulous Superlatives. Kenny Vaughn on guitar, and then bassist and drummer, and I don't know their names. I should, but man, it is absolutely rock and roll. I mean, it's
Honky
badass.
tonk.
Yes, it
That's
is.
awesome, man.
Telecasters. He's playing Clarence White's B-Bender Telly. Kenny Vaughn, who's probably one of my favorite Nashville guitar players, is, I mean, they're singing in the same
Yeah.
mic. I mean, it's rocking like,
I like that.
Dwight Yoakam, Buck Owens. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
like that, the good stuff, the real stuff. But
Dude, that's what we need. We need more of that. And I went down for a while. I was thinking, like Stapleton is really doing this thing right, and I hate how he did it because he got on the map by doing that cover of the Etta James George Jones mesh.
Yeah.
With the Tennessee Whiskey thing, where he took Etta James music and George Jones lyrics.
Yeah.
And that could have been a producer thing where a producer said, "Let's do this."
probably was in
And-
Nashville.
Yeah, and Nashville guys like, well, let's do this because his original music, like Fire Away or Traveler or like Blue Side of the Mountain when he was with whatever the band was that he was in, the Steel Drivers, and I really dug that. But obviously, the first week the Tennessee Whiskey hit the radio, I was sick of it, and there's just nothing on country radio that has bent my ear at all. They're not going to play Sturgill on country
I
radio.
thought Sturgill Simpson was going to do it, but he pulled a Dixie Chicks and shot his foot off, didn't he, man? Didn't he?
I think he did.
He went. You can't.
I
much as
had
I want-
two. I had two Sturgill albums. I had that one, and I had the newer one, Sailor's Guide to Earth. And I listened to it, and I was like, "This is." I'm sorry, Sturgill's second album was not good. I was almost going to say garbage. It wasn't garbage. That cover of In Bloom that he did was good, but that was probably a producer move. Like, let's cover this Nirvana song.
Yeah. The door was open for him to kind of kick it open. And
After that Saturday Night Live show, when he just kicked the shit out of everything,
yes.
and then like,
That's what I was
okay,
waiting
so
on.
this is good.
But then he got political and started ranting on the president and all that, didn't he? He went like real anti-Trump or something like that, and it was the same kind of, and it's like, oh man, you kind of going,
You were our boy.
don't do it, man. It's just your audience,
Yeah.
and you're not.
Yeah.
If you want to be in a punk rock band, then go be in a punk rock band. You can bitch about the government and everybody, but if you're going to be a country act and try to convert people from Luke Bryan over to the
Yes.
Emmylou Harris.
No, you have to, what is it? Sell them with sugar or like, whatever it is, like bring them in with the sugar and then give them the sour, like give them
Well,
3
we saw
or 4.
what happened with the Dixie Chicks, man.
Exactly.
I mean, that was a good
Now,
example of what
granted,
not
they
to do.
did pick up a lot of other fans, like, so that would bring other people into. But then because country music is we're this way, this is how it's going to be, this is how it is, then that'll sort of make them more Dixie Chicks fans or Sturgill Simpsons fans and not country music. And I think that the most important thing is to keep your industry rolling, because if your industry's not rolling, then you're not needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, it's if you're working if your record deal is on, in Nashville, and you're working that machine up there. I mean, I've lived in Nashville a couple of different times, man, and I've quickly figured out that I was not Nashville material. I've got friends. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are out with big acts right now.
Yeah.
Sadler, our friend.
Oh, yeah. Sadler's at Isbell.
Yeah. I mean, right before he got that gig,
Leslie.
Woo, yes.
Dude.
That's who I was
Y'all,
rooting for.
do you have a minute to talk about Leslie?
I was rooting for those guys, man.
Greta Von Fleet can go on somewhere. You want to talk about a legit 70s band with those
like Blue
slinky
Cheer,
guitar
man.
cables and giant combat boots, and Leslie was it.
There was the MC5 Blue Cheer that I was just talking about. That was that could have been Leslie, I mean, really that kind of energy. But I did gig with him with Driving and Crying. He was playing with Driving and Crying for briefly, and I got the old call from Sadler. And this is a funny Sadler story, man. I'm sitting at dinner. My baby's in a high chair. I was married at the time.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast. And phone rings. It's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. It was like, Sadler, hey, man, you want to play a gig with Kevin and Driving and Crying, man? I was like, yes. When? I mean, you name the place. Can you be in Hilton Head in 2.5 hours? I said, yes, I can. I jumped up and threw a kit. I was like, grabbed a kit as fast as I could, threw it in the car, looked around and said, grabbed the 1 or 2 Driving and Crying CDs I had and took off down there, and it was, but I knew he wasn't around long. I was like, oh, this kid's out of here, man. He's playing with,
dude.
And he went.
As soon as he hit that, he hit the jackpot with Isbell.
Yeah, he did. And he's perfect for Isbell. I mean,
he is. They're very similar. Him and Jason's playing style is very, and here it is now. Like back then, he was definitely more 70s, full on.
Yeah, he's
kicker.
Smoothed out, man. They definitely. You can tell he's been working with some heavy hitting Nashville guys. Oh yeah, and I mean they've got him really. He's smooth. He's just
good for him too, man. That's
nobody
deserves it. Such a nice kid, or kid, I say.
Well,
he will always look like a kid. He'll probably be 60 years old and still look 12.
I know it.
But God, what a fucking great guitar player, Leslie. If you can find any Leslie, I'm gonna try to hunt down some Leslie to. They had that. I think just one album, right?
Yeah, they did like their big the big
it's like
one,
a 5
EP,
5 song or something like that. Like this little short album.
And then kind of parted ways right after that, and he was gone.
They were good. We did this thing at Tito's when I first started like sort of running Uncle Tito's, and we had Villanova and John Wesley Satterfield and the Damn Fine Band.
That was Jesse Isley, who
Jesse
played with Jesse my 2 years before going to Legends. Me and Jesse and Brent Pace had a little trio and bounced all around Charleston. That's how I got to know. And then he goes right off and ends up in Will Hogue.
Yeah,
and it was.
It's funny. Like I talk to Satterfield every now and again, and I'm like, like Reggie went on to do the Reggie Sullivan Band, and Clyde plays with everybody. Clyde's
at once.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like Clyde's in like at least a dozen bands, and plays church gigs every Sunday, and that's just a monster.
Yeah.
But I talked to Satterfield, and he's like doing the thing in California. Went down to Tijuana for a little while, and then came to Nashville, and he's all over. And I was like, man, everybody around you, but
it is funny, man. I mean, it's Drew, Kid Drew, whatever, but when he left Legends and went to Nashville, and
did a Kelly Pickler gig
within a matter of days, he was playing with Kelly Pickler. It was like didn't take him long to land it.
Well, nor would it. I mean, but I applaud what he's done too. Like he's wanted to focus on the family life, and that's.
Well, you know what happens, Ben? You chase the rainbow, and you get to the end of the rainbow, and you think there's going to be a big pot of gold, and you realize it's more like a big pot of poker chips.
Yes.
The bands, the lonely little the musicians are not making the millions. You love Luke Bryan? Luke Bryan's drummer is not making the money.
Making what we make.
Yeah, exactly.
He's making what we make. And like, because the amount of production that goes into that stuff, that check that gets written to the conglomerate is huge.
To the songwriters too.
But
the money's in the publishing.
That shit spreads so wide, man. It's like too much butter not enough butter on too much bread. I learned. I mean, I was offered. I had so many friends out there doing it, and it was like, I'm not. And this is not a thing. I could have gone and played with. I could have been I could have been with that guy in the baseball cap and the jeans and the flannel shirt. Oh yeah, I know the guy you're talking about.
That guy in the big bus.
I know the guy you're talking about.
I could have been drumming with that guy, man. And so.
Well, dude, no. I mean, you still could. You 100% still could.
They're going to have to up the money on what some of the. Well, no, with the Spasmatics.
Yeah. No, but I've said this probably 4 times in this episode, but like you control your own destiny, but that is because you're so fucking good.
Well,
I'm going to say that. You don't have to you don't have to. You can shake your head all you want to, but I'm telling you, monster sitting right here. Monster. Dude,
it's what you don't play that's what's important.
That's the thing that not a lot of drummers get is that the most. Because the drums were my first instrument. And I play guitar like a drummer. The most important part of playing the drums is knowing when not to play. But obviously, I don't know anybody that makes the most out of when they do play like you do. I have to say this because
the music will tell you what to play if you're just opening yourself up. If you can hear what's there before you even play it. I mean, you've had multi-track stuff around. I mean, when you're mixing a song and you can kind of hear the part that's there even before you record that part that's there. It'll tell you what needs to be there, what not to be there, and just have
the songs play themselves. They just need your help a little bit.
Exactly. Look at it like that, man.
All right, we got about an hour and 45 minutes of content, man. I'm gonna let you get on out of here and go to the Dead Dog. I'm gonna come down there.
Watch, I'm probably gonna suck tonight. I'll be like, I can't play tonight.
No, I don't think that is. Tommy, that is not a possibility with you.
Play left-handed, just for fun tonight.
You see? He could do it. Don't let him fool you. He could do it.
Shit.
He could fucking do it.
You're crazy.
Anyway, so I always let the guests give 3 things to watch or listen to that listeners wouldn't normally listen to, like through mainstream or they wouldn't find elsewhere, like something that you would offer to them that they might not find elsewhere to listen to or watch. Do you have any watching anything interesting or listening to anything interesting?
Yes. The Brian Jonestown Massacre, dig up Anton Newcomb stuff, all of it, all the recent stuff. And if you want to watch something really cool, there's a clip he did for Anthony Bourdain's show where he cooks dinner for Anthony Bourdain, and then they kind of give the history of he's the Great White Hope, man, for rock and roll. He is the torch carrier for that really stuff that we all love so much.
What album would you suggest? So
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of them. You can close your eyes, throw a dart, and you'll if it sucks you in, you'll go down the rabbit hole with all of them, just like I did. And
I hear you.
There's a lot of stuff there, man. A lot of records.
Well, good, man.
And be kind to animals. Stop using plastic.
Be kind to animals. Bro, I made the switch, man. I've as a matter of fact, I didn't know if you would bring. I've actually washed and filled this tin up with water here just in case.
Man, now you tell me.
Nah, well, I don't even think about it because people leave so much like alcohols and things like that because I don't drink and
I don't either, man.
Yeah, so I mean, how long has it been?
February 23rd, 2012 was the last sip of wine I took.
Congratulations, man. Yeah. Mine is Leap Day.
Really?
Leap Day 2 years ago.
Man, awesome.
So
I remember you when the time on Facebook when you were doing it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and you were 2 weeks or something. And I'm commented, but it's awesome, man. It only gets easier. That's what I tell you.
Exactly.
And then you don't miss it.
The longer you drink, the longer you don't drink, the less you miss it.
Club soda with lime. That's my drink at the bar, man. It's awesome.
I've been trying to do the water. I don't even try not to do any soft drinks or fast foods or anything like that either. I've been trying to. Dude, I've done nothing, no exercise or anything like that, but I've quit eating fast food, and I stopped, obviously, because of no fast food. That cut out a lot to soft drinks. I mean, I have a ginger ale, which I don't really count.
I do sparkling water, like club soda, those little sparkle, those little yuppie Mount Pleasant drinks,
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying. LaCroix?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. There's a few LaCroix in this refrigerator. But it's good stuff. But anyway, I'm going to let you get out of here going down to Dead Dog. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
No, I feel like we're just hanging out, man.
We're definitely just hanging out, man. We made it through this with 0 bullet points, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting there. See, we're getting further into this podcast thing. I used to hide behind like just reading a list of bullet points or whatever, to keep me on topic. Not no more. We don't need it. All right, guys, we're getting out of here.
Ciao.
Be good to animals. Recycle your plastics. Recycle your plastics. Recycle your plastics. Peace, bitches. Awesome. Good episode, man. Let's wave bye to the people on YouTube. Oh, wait. Let's go to the full screen. Okay, yeah, wave again. Bye.